Hi and welcome to the latest of our macrame tutorials. Today I'm going to show you how to make our macrame bunting, which is one of the kits we offer. So I've got everything that I need. So I've got my scissors, I've got my cork board, which I work on because I like to pin things down to secure them whilst I'm making the knots. I've got this cord is going to be the long cord for hanging the bunting. It really does depend upon how long you want the bunting to be. And I've cut my cords that are 1 metre in length, and for each flag of the bunting we need 9 1 metre lengths. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make one of the flags. I've got a bead which I can add to show you if that's something that you want to do as well. So if you get everything you need, and then we'll make a start. Okay, so again, I've cut a length of the cord. This one I've cut 5 metres, but as I say, it really depends on how long you want your bunting to be. And then for each flag, you need 9 1 metre lengths. Okay, and we're going to attach them to the hanging cord with a lark's head knot. So find the ends, go to the other end that meets with a loop over your hanging cord and pull through. Okay, and you've got 1 lark's head knot there. All right, take another one of your metre lengths. Again, make the ends meet, go to the other end where you've got your loop, loop over, open that loop and just pull the cords through. So now we've got 2 lark's head knots. Okay, so if you repeat that for the next 7 cords, so that you've got 9 in total, and then I will show you how to do the design for 1 flag. Okay, so do that now and I'll meet you when we're done. Okay, so I've now attached all 9 cords with the lark's head knot, and I'm going to show you how to create the pattern for the flag. So for the first row, I'm going to take the far right hand cord and the far left hand cord and leave them out of the way because we don't need those at the moment. And we're going to work a row of square knots. So if you're familiar with square knots, we're going to just make a row of 4, starting from the left hand side. I always find easier. If you're not familiar with square knots, if you're new to macrame, there is a beginner's tutorial for various knots on our channel, but I'll just quickly go through a square knot with you. So square knots, you use 4 cords to make. The centre 2 cords don't do anything. Okay, they're the holding cords because they're going to hold the knot together. And the left hand and the right hand cord of the 4 are the working cords. So my left cord I call my L cord because I'm going to place it over the 2 holding cords and it makes an L shape. Okay, so I call that my L loop. It's just how I found easier to remember. And then the right hand cord I call my P cord, which I'll show you in a moment. It's the right hand cord, and the right hand cord, or the P cord, is going to go underneath the holding cords and it's going to come up through that L loop. Okay, and then you just pull them until it's snug against the lark's head knots. Okay, so that's half of a square knot. For the second half, your right hand cord goes over the holding cords and it makes a P loop. Okay, hence why I call it my P cord. All right, and then my L cord is going to go underneath, diagonally through up through that P loop, and then I'm going to pull that like that. Okay, and that is 1 square knot. So I'm going to work along. I'm going to take the next 4 cords and I'm going to make another square knot. So my L cord, I've got my L loop, P, cord goes up and through, pull, and then my P cord, and my L cord goes through. Okay, so once you become familiar with it, you'll get into your own little rhythm and you'll be making them as quickly. You'll do it without even thinking about it. It's like tying shoelaces, all these different knots. You get in a rhythm. Okay, so there's my 3rd square knot and my 4th square knot. Okay, so once I've completed that 4th square knot, which I have now, I'm just going to bring all my cords down to the centre here. Make sure then there's none overlapping, because if they overlap and you get confused with which cords you're using, you could end up having to undo it and start again. Right, for the next row, we're going to make a row of alternating square knots, because we're going to reduce down to a point and the alternating square knots are going to hold the previous row together. So you'll see what I mean. So for this row, we're going to disregard the first 2 that were left. So we've got 3 over there now. And then I'm going to work with my group of 4 square knots. Group of 4 cords, sorry, to make a square knot. So there's 1. Because we're reducing, this row will have 3 square knots on it. There we go, next group. The cord that I've chosen to use today is the 3mm single twist, and it's the Boho in the sand colour. I just chose this because it gives a really nice soft effect. It's lovely to work with and it fringes out nicely when we get to the end. But you could use braided cord, you could use 3-ply, you could use 5mm. It's entirely up to you. Okay, so there is my 2nd row of square knots complete. Okay, make sure that I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to disregard the next 2. And as you'll probably have guessed, we're going to have 2 square knots on this row and we'll leave those cords to the right. Okay, there we go. And the next row is just going to have 1 single square knot, which is almost like the point of our triangle, our upside down triangle. There you go. Okay, and there we go. Now at the moment they don't look quite even, so I'm just going to spend a minute just spread those, and these ones probably need moving a bit closer just so it looks even on both sides. I'll push that one up a bit there. That's better. Okay, so there we've got all of our square knots. Okay, now I'm just going to add another pin in there just to kind of hold it together. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to give our upside down triangle, we're going to give it like a border. And to do that, we're going to use double half hitch knots. Okay, so we're going to find the centre of our last square knot. Okay, and we've got our left half and we've got our right half. Okay, I'm going to start off with the left. And that first cord that we left out at the beginning, that's not part of a square knot, is going to be the filler cord for our double half hitch knots. Okay, so I'm just going to lie this cord, keep it fairly taut, not too tight, but just keep it at the edge of where we want it to go, okay? And then we're going to work one cord at a time to make a double half hitch knot. Again, if you're not familiar with this, I'll go through it with you. So you're going to take your cord in your left hand, that's the working cord, take it over, and you've got a loop. So you're going to pull it through that loop. Okay, and just make sure that's nice and flush. And then repeat, so it's a double half hitch knot. Okay, now what you will need to try and do is try and keep them the same size. Okay, try not to pull too hard because they'll go too small, and try not to leave them too loose because it will be a bit baggy and it just won't look neat. Okay, so then I've got the next cord and I'm going to repeat that. Just push it down. I tend to find that if I just push it down like from the back, it just neatens it up a bit. Okay, so I'm going to work all the way till I get to the centre down here. Okay, and again, you'll get into a little rhythm. This pin doesn't seem to be holding this cord. I think it's going to come a bit untwisted. Let me just secure that again a bit better. There we go. It's nice and relaxing. See that I'm trying to keep them as neat as I can. Try and make sure that they're all near enough the same size. They're not going to be exact, but near enough. And I've got one more cord for the left hand side. Okay, and there you go. Right, that centre cord I'm just going to leave as it's going to become the last cord to make a double half hitch knot on this side. So you'll see what I mean, and it will just join the two sides together. So now I'm going to take the right hand cord, and that's going to become our filler cord to edge it. And I'm going to do exactly the same by making a row of double half hitch knots. Just trying to match up where that starts as well. Now for some reason, it's like anything, you always find you're neater or better on one side at doing something, in this case knotting, than you are on the other side. I always find I have to work a little bit harder to make going this way as neat as going that way. It's just the way our brains are wired, which this why this is good for the mind. Okay. See what I mean there? I'm just going to keep that there. Again, this wire, this cord's becoming a bit untwisted, so I'm just going to twist it again to secure it so it's not all wobbling. You could use tape if you haven't got pins, or you could clip, use a bulldog clip or something. Okay. I do sometimes end up undoing them because I'm not quite so happy with them, but I'll go with it. See, like that one, there we go, that's better. Depends how fussy you are about them being the same, and I'm quite fussy. Okay, now this is where I've got the cord that was the filler cord for the left hand side, and this is just going to secure like the bottom of the point. It just, there we go, just finishes that point off there quite nicely. Okay, so there is the first row of the border done. Now this is where, if you wanted to, you could add a bead in the centre. You don't have to, but if you do, all you need to do is just take those first two cords from the centre. These polymer clay beads I've made so that they've got decent size holes. These are 6mm, no, it might even be 8mm holes. And again, I'm going to be doing a tutorial and a kit for making these. Okay, so you can just put that bead on there and then separate your sides of the cord again. And you're going to repeat by making another row of double half hitch knots. Okay, and again, I just feel that I'm so much better with the left. It's like anything, practice, practice. Okay. I picked a nice bright bead so that you could see it on camera, so it stood out. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the neatness on this side. After doing it for so long, it still does bug me when I can't quite get it neat enough, but hey ho. Okay, now I'm going to leave these four here because I'll show you what I'm going to do with these when I've done this side. Let's see if I can get this side neater this time. Now, of course, when you're making your bunting, you could increase the size of your flag just by having more cords to begin with. And then you'd have a few more rows of square knots before you started the edging. So it is entirely up to you. This is just an idea to get you going, really. You can adapt the designs to suit yourself, which is the beauty of macrame and any craft, really. I'm just here to give you the ideas, give you the basics, and then let your creativity run away with you. Okay, that's not too bad. It's better than the first row, I think. If I was sat here on my own, I'd be fiddling around with them for ages, but I'm not. Right, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the filler cord that was left and I'm going to pop it underneath the bead so it's now on the right hand side, and the filler cord that was on the right, pop it underneath the bead. Okay, because then what that's going to do is when I do the next little bit, it's going to secure it. Okay, and I'm just going to do half of a square knot here. Okay, and it's just going to mean that that bead sits in place. Okay, Now if I wanted to, I could do a few square knots, okay, or I could do a spiral, which is a half square knot, so it gives a nice spirally finished. The choice is yours. Okay, then just to finish off my design, I just decided how long I wanted these cords to be, and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to chop. Let's go with this length first. Chop roughly. Okay, and then this side's going to be about the same. And then, oh, I should have said this at the beginning as well. If you've got a pet brush or a comb, if you like your fringes combed out, then we can just give it a brush, which I'll do now. Or you could leave it like that so that they fray freely. But I'm just going to get my brush, which I've left over there. There it is. And I'm just going to be super careful to start at the ends. Unpin it all, and you could leave this right till the end until you've done all of your flags. Like I say, it looks quite nice just with it frayed and left like that. Or if I turn it over, it does take a bit of work if you're brushing the fringe out completely, but these pet brushes are a really good idea. If you were a subscriber of our, I can't remember which, but one of our monthly subscription boxes, it had a pet brush in as your free gift. Okay, and you just want to spend a bit of time just deciding how you're going to leave it. Obviously, if you're hanging your bunting up, it's not going to stay completely perfectly neat. You can use some hairspray, or you can spray some water with a bit of glue in it as you brush it, and then it will set. But I actually quite like the bunting when it's quite rustic at the bottom. You know how it was when I just got the ends going. But also what you can do is, again, it depends how perfectly neat you want to be. You can, with your super sharp scissors, you can give it a really nice edging. If you want it really nice and neat and a clean cut, bear in mind when you pick it up, it will move. Okay, you can use the masking tape trick, which is pop a bit of masking tape on in a straight line and then cut at the edge and then take the masking tape off. But you can see the difference with a clean line or left a bit rough and ragged. So it's completely up to you. Okay, and your bunting can then be as many flags as you want with the however much cord you've got. So remember, it's 9 meters per flag. So if you've got a 100-meter roll, which is what comes in the kit, then you will have enough for 9 flags and then a hanging cord. It's up to you. Right, once again, hope you've enjoyed that. If you like what you've seen, please leave a comment below, click on subscribe, hit thumbs up, and I'll see you again for our next tutorial.